Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting of October 27th, 2025. Just in terms of a territorial acknowledgement, the District of Metchosin conducts its business on Coast Salish territory and the traditional territory of the Shiano First Nation. The District of Metchosin works to be increasingly mindful of its commitment to more inclusive governance with our neighbors. I would like to acknowledge our neighboring First Nations governments within whom we are committed to building stronger working relationships, the Shiano First Nation and the Sook First Nation. Thank you. So, Council, we have an agenda before us. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We don't have any presentation this evening, but we have public participation. Should you wish to speak at public participation, you have 4 minutes. We have a little guide there for you, that light feature. It will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds left and red when you're out of your time of 4 minutes. Does anybody wish to speak? If you could let us know your name and your street.
My name is Don Plank. I live at 4347 Metchosin Road. I hope I'm not too loud. It sounds loud to me. Okay. Full disclosure, I am vice chair of the Metchosin Community Hall Association. I am speaking only for myself, though. My subject is respect. My dictionary lists honor, esteem, consideration, regard. I like to add timely communication to others. First, I wish to acknowledge and show my respect to all of the district staff here and not here. Thank you. Thank you all for the job you do so well. True respect is displayed as an all-way street to me. Respect going only one way only goes to the dead-end street. If council wishes to display respect to all in Metchosin, I invite council to publicize all the letters, emails, etc. given to them from concerned and knowledgeable persons. Even letters that reflect minority points of view need to be shown to all. If council's point of view is solid, what harm is there in sharing a different view? Thus, they have nothing to hide. Timely communication. If potentially affected Metchosinites are not informed by council ahead of discussion and or decision with enough time to give input, then council will continue to make ill-informed decisions that damage us all. One case in point out of several. Along with other non-profits, the Community Hall Society was, and still is, I understand, listed as losing a tax exemption for property taxes. The land registry title page I was able to get for the hall does not mention the society as owner. The 1888 document transferring the ownership is clearer. It says that the hall property is owned, and I quote, subject to such trusts and provisions for the benefit of the residents. Yet some of the council insist they still want to talk to society members about this. What a waste of time and chosen resources. In my opinion, all of those named nonprofits provide priceless and lasting benefits to all in Metchosin, including this district. Also, to ask to meet any of these nonprofits after the harmful decision was made is far from being respectful. Conclusion. How many past and future decisions have to be endured before this council learns to respectfully take the time to gather all pertinent data and opinion before rushing us all off over that one-way cliff. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak at public participation?
And council members. My name is Patrick Slobodian. I live on Bewdley Avenue in Esquimalt. And I am here at the request of my dear friend and former work colleague, Naseem Janmohamed, who is in Nepal right now, but would dearly love to be here tonight. And I am speaking about the agenda item 10B, which is on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. So both Naseem and I are core members of the Victoria Health Workers Against Genocide, a local group of 80 plus members who affiliate themselves also with other local, national, and international like-minded groups. Our group formed specifically in response to the ongoing systematic destruction of the healthcare system of Gaza, which is confirmed as a medicide by UN experts. And quickly, let us not be lulled into complacency by Donald Trump's so-called 20-point Gaza peace plan. All reports indicate that, like every previous peace plan, this plan is playing out as both a farce and a tragedy. The catastrophe is ongoing. To quote the UN Special Rapporteurs Francesca Albanese and Tlaleng Mofokeng, the disregard towards the crimes Israel continues to commit in Gaza sends a stark message to the world that the people of Gaza do not count and their life does not matter. There is a moral imperative for the international community to end the carnage and allow the people of Gaza to live on their land without fear of attack, killing, and starvation, and free from permanent occupation and apartheid. Universal Renewing Human Rights in a Fractured World is the title of the Massey Lecture Series for this year, given by Alex Neve, who is an international human rights lawyer based in Ottawa. The book is out now. It will be on CBC Ideas next month. He reminds us that the charter of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states the recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. What does red mean? Red on the 30 seconds? Oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm good. Okay, good. Okay, so I just want to read an extract from his book because his last lecture is later this week in Ottawa, but the book is out already.
So you have about 30 seconds.
Okay, he said, we each have a responsibility to uphold human rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights tells us this, but even more importantly, we all have the potential and the power to do so. When we come together, be it a small neighborhood campaign organized by a handful of people or a global movement, we do indeed overcome injustice. Never tell yourself you're insignificant. We, the Victoria Health Workers Against Genocide, ask that you stand with us and support the motion. Take this small but oh so significant a step with us on a path to a better world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sarah Anthony, Metchosin Road. So I've been giving some thought to our whole financial situation. I remember at the end of Mayor Rand's last term, he said something along the lines of, like, whoever's on council is going to have a really tough job ahead with the cost of policing and the challenge of the fire hall coming up. And of course, costs have risen even more since then, which was not foreseeable, but that's what happened. So here we are. So in order to cut costs, council, I guess, decided to remove a portion of the permissive tax exemption. I don't know if you're aware, but this has been kind of unpopular. And I think I can understand why. If there's one thing that Metchosinites value, it's our volunteer organizations. So how do we balance the budget? We are either going to have to make cuts, increase taxes, or find a way to bring money in another way, such as opening up Souk Road for light industrial, or a combination of things. None of these options are ideal, but some less than ideal things are going to have to happen, obviously. The question is what? So, I mean, what I would like to see is district staff coming with solutions. I know Jeffrey's suggested some things before, but it would be nice if those things could be brought to council and to the community so we can all kind of look at what we're facing and what our choices are as a community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric White, Metchosin Road. It appears that we have some financial problems in our future. Metchosin's fiscal abilities are looking strained. And I think it's worth taking a look at all of our possibilities for revenue or whatever we can do to diversify our portfolio to bring in income, because if we don't bring in more income, I don't think we're going to make it very far into the future. I think we're in a no bad ideas situation, whereas we're going to have to start with the bad ideas and hopefully find something that's not the worst idea, right? Best is the enemy of the good, right? As for having a referendum over our fire hall, I think that's another financial burden that we can't afford. A lot of it due to the time factor. A lot of it due to, I saw a whole room of people who all said, yes, we need a new fire hall. There wasn't a single person who got up and said, no, we don't need a new fire hall. It was a cut and dry, as is, you know, there couldn't have been a clear message in the room that day. And I think the shovels need to get in the ground immediately. Non-residential construction is up 4% over the last 2 quarters. So if our fire hall costs us $10 million, or on January 1st, if it was a $10 million fire hall, now it's a $10,400,000 fire hall. By the end of the year, 2 more quarters in, we'll be at $10,800,000, if not 11 million, another $1 million every year that this project doesn't get off the ground and get started. Don't quote me, but I think it's $2,776 a day it will cost us for every day this project is not started. And it's, yeah, how much do we want to spend on not moving our feet? I hope we get going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leonore Davison, 900 Speyside Lane. I'm speaking on behalf of my husband, Bruce Davins, and myself. We're worried about the tax situation. I have many friends now that are widows and such, and they are finding money is very in short supply altogether in Metchosin and elsewhere in the Greater Victoria area. So here's what I would like to see. So we have 1,800 taxpayers. That's what you brought out your stats. I would like to know how many of those people, percentage, are farm status and what that means to us in tax. Also agricultural land, I'd like that broken down. And now you are aware that the federal lands are no longer going to be money coming to us because all behind us and around us is no longer federal land. So those will not be in lieu either. So I would like to know exactly, breaking down how much money, because the taxpayer pays for just about everything. There's no other income in most cases. In every municipality in British Columbia, it's the taxpayer. So I would like to see how much money we really have, right? And then we can decide whether we will take a 30-year mortgage out anywhere, because we will, my husband and I will have to pay quite a bit of that. So, you know, we can't rezone our property and put a lot of people in it, because that costs the whole municipalities all more money, the infrastructure. So I would like to see that put in, so we can all see what we really have to spend without any tax increase. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davison. We'll ask the Chief Financial Officer to prepare those answers for the next finance meeting. Okay?
Perfect, that's good. And I do support the community hall. I've had great events, lots of sports there, and I hate to see us sacrificing that when maybe we could sacrifice and just have done the roof on the fire hall 20 years ago as we were supposed to. So I was in a lot of committees then. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Wendy.
Good evening, Nicole Shukin, Lawn Road resident. I just want to thank the speaker from Esquimalt who supported the letter from Naseem and Diana Smith, and I really hope to see a discussion of that letter at tonight's council meeting. I'm actually going to talk about a lot of other interesting material in the agenda package related to Mr. Starr's application for a commercial rezoning. And I think that the story of Metchosin Cafe, which is directly across the road from Mr. Starr's place, appears to be a precedent for subdivision and commercial rezoning of ALR land in the village core. And it's possible that Councillor Gray may have cause to recuse himself from the discussion and decision on this application. I'm not sure, due to a family connection to ownership of Metchosin Cafe, just as he recused himself from the vote on permissive tax exemptions due to a conflict of interest with the community hall. Indeed, in 2023, it was big news when Councillor Gray's son, Jason Gray, purchased Metchosin from the Medills along with two partners. This very profitable business and popular watering hole comes up in the current rezoning application as a significant precedent, given that the Medills were granted the ability to subdivide and commercially develop the land on which the cafe now sits. As Barb Sawatsky writes in a 2023 story in the Muse covering that sale, quote, "The process of subdividing, rezoning, and building is a story in itself." And that's a great front page story by Barb that everybody should read. But one detail in the agenda materials leapt out at me, and it's mentioned in a letter from Mr. Starr's lawyer, who notes that prior to its subdivision and rezoning, a stand of old growth fir existed on the site where Metchosin Cafe now sits. I don't know if any of this old growth may have been protected when the land was commercially rezoned in 1995. But given that Mr. Starr's land lies right across the road, is there possibly some remnant, old growth, or significant trees on his land that might be flagged for protection? Perhaps the applicant has already flagged arboreal or other ecological values on his land, or perhaps council may look for eco assets like these if or when you do a site visit. Protecting and cultivating as much tree canopy as possible in the village core is a critical piece of Metchosin's climate resiliency. And I want to just end by saying that it must be hard on this council, and I think on any council, when not just one but two colleagues recuse themselves from the decision-making process due to conflicts of interest. And this is because it places the weight and responsibility of decision-making, hard decision-making, on fewer shoulders than is ideal with a council composed of 5 elected representatives. And so hopefully those who recuse themselves work to make it easier, not harder, on their council colleagues who are left sitting at the table to make decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I push the button? No, you can hear me. So it's. Oh, you want to hear me?
Yes.
Wendy Mitchell, 580 Woody Beach Road. I was going to get up and just say a brief little thing, and so I'm just going to start with that right away. And that is, I really ask you, this is the 27th of October right now. You have until the 31st, I think, to change your minds, to retract a little bit, just to back up on the PTEs. You're really changing a lot of organizations in Metchosin by removing those PTEs. You didn't give them any notice. I think it was back in August or July was the first time there was a mention. And the people I know are, they were not consulted. They did not know about it. So it's very unfair. Now, I also know why you need that money. And you need that money because we need fire hall upgrade. I think everyone in Metchosin agrees that the fire hall can be upgraded, not necessarily to a brand new fire hall with total change. Everyone agrees that the fire hall can do with some upgrading. And I hesitate to use this name, but John Ranson and Ed did come up with a really good plan after looking at the facts of redoing the bays and completely redoing the offices, which obviously need to be done. So we all understand why you're penny pinching, and that's what you're doing. You're hurting people who have only given to Metchosin. And I just ask you to reconsider that, because it's going to be really hard for those organizations, even if you change your mind next year, it's going to be really hard for those organizations to readjust. I don't understand money at all. Anyway, that's what I think. I ask you to do that. I think it's deeply misguided to be thinking about borrowing money in this year with that so-called government that's south of us that is creating chaos in the world, absolute chaos in the world. Would you be out borrowing money right now to put in a fancy new kitchen? No, you wouldn't, because we don't know what's going to happen. So we really don't know what's happening. So I really think that we should not be borrowing $13 million, which we know is going to be $26 million by the time any sort of brand new fire hall is done. And if I still have a minute or two, I'm a little surprised by the last speaker getting up and talking about conflict of interest, because there was a problem, I think, with the process of the PTEs being removed, because the two people who are slightly involved with two of the items recused themselves and were not called back for the vote on the other items, and they should have been.
Thank you.
Tamara Ballard, Wooten Road. I have two things I'd like to talk about. And I'm going to start with 12A.
So I'd like to show my support actually for Mr. Starr's application. I think that if it does get rezoned as commercial, we'll be receiving the taxes for a commercial base. So there's my support for that. And then on to agenda item 13B, which is the UBCM grant. So I just did a quick Google search on the UBCM grant for that it's still under review if it's available to the public. The short answer, no, not fully public yet. And the reason is because of freedom of information and the protection of privacy while it's still being considered. So there's been some talk in the community that a previous member of the council table or the council has the grant application. How would they have received that? Who leaked it? And what are the consequences for the person or persons who leaked confidential information to the public through FIPA, community charter, and the district's code of conduct? Why was proper procedure not followed? Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak?
Sherry Rourke, Rocky Point Road. There's been a lot of discussion in the community lately, including on social media, the news about recent council decisions. In discussion with other residents and seeing posts online, there seems to be a lot of concern and confusion as to why only 3 members of council voted on a recent matter rather than all 5. It seems that it's not widely understood that 2 councillors identified a potential conflict of interest and therefore recused themselves from the discussion and vote. Because this has caused confusion, I'm hopeful that council or staff can provide some public clarification for residents about how and when councillors must recuse themselves, what recusal means in terms of future participation or discussion on that matter, what inside and outside influence means under the community charter, and what procedures are in place if those standards are breached. I was also curious about the motion regarding making a grant application public. To better understand the rules, I contacted UBCM this afternoon and was advised that grant applications have always been considered confidential for a variety of reasons. As previously stated this evening, it's also been suggested publicly that confidential information from that grant application has been shared with a member of the public. If that is the case, I would like to know what the procedure is for dealing with such a situation. Does that constitute a breach of the community charter, council's code of conduct? What steps can or will be taken both currently and in the future to ensure this doesn't happen again? We are a small, passionate community with a long history of engagement in local politics. Social media has given people new ways to share opinions widely, but it has also contributed to a great deal of misinformation and misunderstanding about why decisions are made. As a community, we can and should come together to ask for change, but it's important to do so through facts, respect, and open dialogue, not through the personal attacks or mistruths we are currently seeing. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody?
Bob Burgess, 3837 Duke Road. It's about the permissive tax exemptions. I think that was a terrible idea. I think I've looked at the numbers. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the overall tax that would have been paid was about $176,000. And now you're going to provide about $97,000 thereabouts. So that means about $79,000 divided by 1,800 people. That works out to about $44 a year per household, or about 6 or maybe 7 lattes at Starbucks. I think we can we all are, we're not all wealthy, but I think we can all afford to put $44 forward and keep these organizations going. I mean, you got Camp Thunderbird. What are you thinking? I mean, how can you possibly put that at risk? You've got the Anglican Church. They haven't got the funds. You're putting the burden on organizations that are not in a good position to handle it. And also, you haven't given them any warning. If you've given them a year or two lead time, they might have been able to compensate for it. But right now, you've just sprung it on them. So anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak this evening?
My 2 cents worth. Jennifer Burgess, 3837 Duke Road. Okay, let me clarify, first of all, the October 31st that seems to be flying back and forth in media, social media. October 31st had to do with a deadline for a bylaw, which is now impossible to enact, that's my understanding. Therefore, this is not a bylaw. This now is a decision of council itself to continue to apply this exemption in the way that you would like to apply it. And therefore, I exhort you to withdraw your decision. And the biggest reason, I think, is that it's petty change. We're talking about $80,000 spread through 1,800 homes, which we perfectly easily encountered and managed for many, many years, and is a very drastic change. But the biggest reason I think it's chump change is another number that I have here. Just a second. You received a Growing Communities Fund in 2023. Growing Communities Fund, $2.438 million with a very specific allocation. 2.43 million is now, I guess, with interest, probably closer to, I don't know, 2.6, 2.8, 2.8. I think I have a little nod from your CFO. Now, surely, I have been on both sides. I've been on the council table, and I've been on the administration side of municipalities. And I know there are always ways that there is a possibility to shift funds in proper categories. And to me, I'm sure that you can find the $79,000 in some other fashion inside your budget. I regret I haven't been to your first budget presentation, but I will certainly be at the rest of your budget presentations. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak this evening?
Eric White, 4290 Metchosin Road. Just to get the idea juices flowing about income, and you know they say never let a crisis go to waste. We're in a housing crisis, and one thing we could do is permit RV and tiny home pads and charge an annual fee of say $1,000, have them inspected. And if we had 100 of those in our community, that would be $100,000, and that would offset the municipal tax grant, and we'd all be okay with that. I think. I'm just saying that let's come up with ideas. We've got a housing crisis. Housing crises give us opportunities to come up with ways to throw in little things to make money.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak this evening? Okay, let's turn now, council, to the agenda. Thank you, participants, for speaking this evening. Okay, we have before you on item number 4, we have the adoption of the October 6th regular council meeting. Could I get a motion, please? Moved by Councillor Epps, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. That's carried. And then we have the receipt of the minutes from the October 20th committee of the whole meeting. Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shukin. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous as well. Thank you. Moving along to the mayor's report. I've got a written report. I usually have a written report once a month and a verbal report at the other council meeting. This is my written report. The Kapoor Land site visit. So Gord Baird, he is the chair of the Regional Water Supply Commission and a councillor with the District of Highlands, invited members of the CRD Water Supply Commission and the CRD board to tour the Kapoor lands on October 6th. All-day event. It was really fascinating. This was an opportunity to tour the newly acquired lands and to share the history of the Kapoor Lumber Company. There's a book out there as well with KLC manager Bruce Smith. The CRD received approval through the alternate approval process for a borrowing bylaw for capital funds of $33 million to purchase the 1,900 plus hectares of land from the Kapoor Land Company. The Kapoor lands are located adjacent to the Souk Lake Reservoir catchment area and the Souk Lake watershed, which is the primary water supply for the Greater Victoria area. That's why this area is so special and so important for the region's water. These lands have been identified by the CRD as an acquisition priority due to the strategic geographical location, which makes the land crucial for safeguarding the regional water supply and water transmission infrastructure and ensured the continued provision of high quality and safe drinking water for all the residents of Greater Victoria. The CRD has a multi-barrier approach to protecting this drinking water. One of the key barriers is the protection of the watershed and our water source, the Souk Lake Reservoir. The purchase of this land will secure control of the primary access to Greater Victoria's principal water supply reservoir and secure lands that will be required for future growth or future water supply infrastructure. The additional management control will help safeguard our public drinking water by reducing risk of trespass, human-caused contamination, and wildfire. An additional benefit of purchasing this land is that it allows the CRD to extend the corridor of protected green space from the Souk Inlet to the Saanich Inlet and improve environmental biodiversity and connectivity across the watersheds and larger landscape. It was a wonderful opportunity to see these lands up close and fully appreciate the importance of the Kapoor lands are to the watershed and to the water supply. Secondly, there was an announcement of the Canadian Force Base Esquimalt housing for military personnel. I attended a celebration on October 16th, a ribbon cutting to announce the purchase of the apartment complex designated for military personnel housing. The reason why I wanted to bring this to your attention because our MP, Honourable Stephanie McLean, the Member of Parliament for us, and the Secretary of State for Seniors provided the announcement along with Captain Kevin Whiteside, the base commander, and Paola Zora, CEO of the Canadian Forces Housing Agency. Lots of other dignitaries were present. Honourable Stephanie McLean participated in the ribbon cutting ceremony on behalf of Defence Minister David McGuinty to mark this acquisition. She said the project demonstrates the government's commitment to supporting Canadian Air Force personnel with timely access to the safe, affordable housing. And really, this is lessons in good communications, not only with our neighboring communities, but also with the federal government, because this privately developed $23 million apartment complex, which was will be ready for personnel in January, was in a court-ordered bankruptcy sale. When the mayor of View Royal heard this, he contacted Kevin Whiteside, who's attending our mayor's lunches. He texted him right away. They had a conversation. Kevin Whiteside, Commander Whiteside, forwarded the information to the feds, and it was within I think, 43 days that they pivoted and they were able to purchase this for Canadian Air Force personnel. They have a great need for housing. The waiting list is up to 600. So the new housing for this base is in addition to the 165 million 480 room residential facility for junior non-commissioned officers that was announced in August and last year, and the National Defense Policy, our North, Strong and Free, called, allocated $2 billion over 20 years to establish the Canadian Armed Forces housing strategy, building new homes and rehabilitate the existing housing. And the funding is in addition to $475 million committed over 10 years, starting in 2022, 2023. So I think that's good news for the Canadian Forces base at Esquimalt for military personnel housing. Along with themes of engagement at the CRD, as vice chair of the CRD, I had the extreme pleasure of attending an all-day event, excuse me, with Sook First Nation. They took us on a boat ride or a vessel ride through their nation via the water to see what their boundaries were, what their concerns were. They gave us a lot of historical context and pointed out where there had been cairns discovered. Anyways, it was a marvelous day of cold, but it was an absolute marvelous day to see, almost from an eagle's eye point of view, where their traditional territory was and why it is so important to them. So thanks to the CRD and the Sook Nation for that. And then some of us attended the Union of BC Municipalities Conference in Victoria in September. I've listed a number of key takeaways, but I think what was really poignant for me and was really absolutely fascinating, there was a discussion about the Cowichan tribes and the BC Supreme Court ruling. The panel discussion was hosted by UBC to discuss the August 2025 British Columbia Supreme Court ruling in the case of Cowichan tribes versus Canada. In this recent landmark ruling, the BC Supreme Court granted the Cowichan tribes Aboriginal title to 780 acres in the city of Richmond, including fee simple lands. The decision sets important legal, political, and practical implications for local governments across BC. On the panel was three remarkable lawyers: David Rosenberg, who served as the senior legal counsel for the Cowichan Nation within this case; Robert Younger, a former chief provincial treaty negotiator and a lawyer with 30 years experience, and Reese Harding, a lawyer focused on local government litigation. Why I'm saying this is there's a link within my report to the video of this, and there wasn't any easily summarized conclusion to this, except for that this is phase 1 of phase 3. They stress that there's no need to panic. There's going to be lots of chance for discussions. In fact, I think all of the players, including the Cowichan tribes themselves, have appealed the decision. It's unclear whether Aboriginal title may extinguish fee simple lands holder rights, possibly, but possibly not. That wasn't really clear. I think it's a really fascinating case, and it has implications for the future. So I think this was a really terrific panel to provide local government representatives to get some indication on the nuances of this very important case that is one of the longest standing cases. Anyways, with that, and I just want to turn to a rise and report. We have, as you remember, at a previous council meeting, it was asked for me to consider a a special council meeting right after the council meeting to discuss the permissive tax exemptions. We received a letter at the meeting from Councillor Donaldson and Councillor Gray to this effect. The next day, our deputy corporate officer reached out to our lawyers, since my reading was the same as our deputy corporate officer, but obviously members at the table didn't understand or believe that. And so the legal opinion is this, and I'll read it out. As a synopsis, the lawyer Catherine Lee at Dodd Lidstone and Company, our lawyers, says, unfortunately, by my calculation, the district will not be able to complete the required newspaper public notice before October 31st, 2025, which is the deadline for the PTE bylaw to come into force in order to apply to taxation for 2026. Section 224 number 4 of the community charter only allows permissive tax exemption bylaw to be adopted after notice of the proposed bylaw has been given in accordance with section 227, which incorporates the public notice requirements under section 94. So under general authority of the permissive tax exemptions, section 224, subject to subsection 5, a bylaw under this section must establish the term of the exemption, which may not be longer than 10 years, may only be adopted after notice of the proposed bylaw has been given in accordance with section 227, and does not apply to taxation in the calendar year unless it comes into force on or before October 31st of the preceding year. Section 227 of the Community Charter requires council to give notice of the proposed permissive tax exemption bylaw in accordance with section 94. Notice of permissive tax exemptions, 227, a council must give notice of a proposed bylaw under the division in accordance with section 94. And the lawyer goes on to say, I assume that the district does not have the bylaw for the alternate means of publication, as I did not identify such a bylaw on the district website. This means that the default publication requirements under section 94.1 of the community charter applies. And the requirement for public notice under section 94.1, this or another act requires notice to be given or published in accordance with this section. This notice must be published, A, in accordance with section 94.1, 94.2 as applicable, and by posting the notice in the public notice posting places. Default publication requirements 94.1 states that unless a council has adopted a bylaw under section 94.2 and subject to section 3 of this section, a notice must be published, A, in a newspaper that is distributed at least weekly, and section 1, in the area affected by the subject matter of the notice, and if the area affected is not in the municipality, also in the municipality, and unless this or another act provides otherwise, once each week for 2 consecutive weeks. Under the Interpretation Act, a week means 7 consecutive days. So you have to have notice for 14 consecutive days. In other words, the lawyer goes on to say, the district must wait until 14 consecutive days of newspaper publication have passed before the permissive tax exemption bylaw can be adopted. Community Charter Section 2244B. The permissive tax exemption bylaw must come into force on or before October 31st, 2025, so it would have to be adopted on October 30th in order to apply to taxation for 2026. That's section 2244C. And then the lawyer goes on to say, let's say that the notice for the permissive tax exemption is published in the newspaper today. This is October 21st. 2 consecutive weeks or 14 consecutive days from November is November 4th, 2025. This means that the earliest the PTE bylaw can be adopted by council is November 5th, 2025, which is after October 31st. So it's important to note that the statutory notice requirements are legally required under the community charter. It's not just a notice on the fire hall board. It's not a notice on our website. It has to be an official notice. I know some of you are confused by this because we pass bylaws all the time, but this permissive tax exemption bylaw and the council procedure bylaw are two very special bylaws that need to be enacted this way, and we must have these special notice requirements. So I'm told by staff that they would have had to muster sometime around the 1st of October in order to make this happen, to ask the Times Colonist to run ads on 2 consecutive weeks. Okay, and then I thought what also I would do was, since there's many questions, and if you've noticed from the comments this evening, some misunderstandings, others people have noted that there is some disinformation, I thought I would give a synopsis of what has been done. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, permissive tax exemptions are a discretionary tool. Can you hear me okay? A discretionary tool granted under the provincial legislation in accordance with the community charter statutory exemptions under 220 and 224. And they allow municipalities to provide property tax relief to organizations delivering public services. Historically, Metchosin has granted over 170,000 annually in exemptions to the 6 groups, costs that are redistributed over other property owners. This context underscores the importance of transparency, predictability, and equity in exemptions. Other communities, such as the City of Colwood, allows for full or partial exemptions based on principal use of the property, not on the service delivery. The District of Souk and Central Saanich put a cap on their total permissive exemptions of 1.5 and 1.7 or 1.7, 1.5 respectively, of the current year's taxation requisitions, with all permissive tax exemptions proportionally reduced. Other communities do not give permissive tax exemptions at all. For 2024, the District of Metchosin granted almost 2%, as opposed to Souk and Central Saanich 1.7, 1.5, up to 2%, almost 2% of the current year's tax requisition, which is more generous than some other communities. So the new policy at the District of Metchosin Council that will provide a grant for the district proportion of the 2026 property taxes for the organizations approved by council. The district is now covering only the municipal portion of the tax and is not covering the non-municipal amounts which appear on everybody's property tax bills in June of 2026. The non-municipal portion includes charges such as school tax, hospital levies, West Shore Parks and Recreation, the CRD, BC Transit, for instance. For all 7 nonprofit groups, these changes are estimated to be $92,500 in 2026. This new policy reflects the value it places on community organizations that serve the district, while also balancing the financial impact on all the taxpayers. This policy is meant to provide a process that is fair and consistent, that is sustainable, supporting both transparency in government and the vibrancy of the Metchosin's not-for-profit volunteer sector. So questions and concerns regarding the permissive tax exemptions for nonprofit societies at the District of Metchosin were first raised by Councillor Gray at the September 11th, 2023 council meeting. 2 years later, the discussion of permissive tax exemptions has continued. Discussions for the 2026 tax year began in June 2025 at an open meeting with a report from the district chief financial officer. All council members were at that meeting. This was again discussed at another open meeting on July 14th, and there were no concerns raised during the discussions. Again, all council members, despite one of the council's members saying that he wasn't present, All council members were present at that meeting. So this began in June. Because this has to be done, all of the information needs to be forwarded to the BC Assessment Authority by October 31st. So this began in June. On September 15th, 2025, the discussion was brought back once again to council. There was 2 previous meetings where concerns could have been raised. All of the information was available. Before the item was fully introduced, 2 councillors declared conflicts of interest and recused themselves for the entire discussion. Thus, there's been plenty of discussion about permissive tax exemptions for the next year at the District of Metchosin as it relates to the 7 groups. Of course, where I misstepped was I didn't have a communication plan in place for after the announcement. I honestly didn't think about it, but certainly I should have reached out to all of the groups. And I have since then reached out to all of the groups, and I will be meeting with all of them. And I have met with some of them, all of them except for one has declined that invitation. So just to reiterate, the District of Metchosin Council has voted to provide financial support for these groups. We are doing this by providing a grant for the municipal portion of the 2026 property taxes. It is estimated that this commitment will see the district providing over $97,000 in tax relief. Comments have made it that this grant is not a commitment and that it may be considered later or may not be passed. In fact, Council has made this commitment through a resolution. At the September 15th meeting, in fact, 2 resolutions were passed. In 2025, when both amounts, both the non-municipal and the municipal portions were covered for the district permissive tax exemptions, the total amount of tax relief was $176,980. Both portions for the 2026 would be greater than $190,000 next year. It is important to remember that this amount is paid for by the rest of Metchosin taxpayers. The pivotal question really is what is a justifiable burden on the other taxpayers? Metchosin Council felt that the extra $44 for the average taxpayer was justifiable. This is what the regular taxpayer will pay to make up approximately the $97,000 Metchosin Council is granting to the 7 nonprofits and other organizations to relieve them of their municipal taxes. However, an extra $100, well, that's harder to justify. Again, please note that Council has voted to support these nonprofit organizations, and the district will be covering over $97,000 for the municipal portion of the property tax. It's also important to state that the District of Metchosin, on behalf of the taxpayers, provides grants to many organizations in the community. We do support other entities, other volunteer organizations, such as the Seniors Resource Center, the Community Hall, the Metchosin Firefighters Society, Metchosin Day Committee, Bilston Creek Society, Peninsula Area Commission, Agricultural Commission, Access West Shore, Compost Education, Wandafika Performing Arts, Metchosin Equestrian Society, Metchosin Preschool, Reimagine West Shore, Need 2, South Vancouver Island Farmers, South Vancouver Island Film, Victoria Humane Society, and Youth Parliament, and permissive tax exemptions in the past to the 6 organizations of the SPCA, YMCA, the Community Hall, the Anglican Synod, Diocese of BC, Victoria Motorcycle Club, and the BC Parks Foundation. We also have subsidized rent at the Community House for MACA, for the Metchosin Equestrian Society, Metchosin Grown Society, Metchosin Preschool, Metchosin School Museum, and Metchosin Pioneer Museum. So we do support many other organizations in addition to these groups. As I mentioned, I've asked if members of the 7 groups would meet with me so I could explain to them. The ones that have met with me thus far have heard that I've encouraged them to come to our grant and aid portion of our budgeting system, so that they could apply for that other portion if they are indeed in financial straits, as we've heard, particularly with the church. Then I heard them loud and clear when I met with them. I said, please come to the grant and aid and we can make you whole, so that we would provide you with a grant and then you would pay the tax. And so there would be zero owing by those groups. Some members of the community have also asked how council came to the conclusion of a change in policy on the permissive tax exemptions. As I mentioned, this was first brought up earlier this year, again in June, again in July, and then at the September meeting. And on what criteria did we base all of this? All of the groups provide wonderful service for our community. This decision was based mostly on the financial statements provided by the nonprofits and other organizations. Thus, this was really an empirical data decision that the nonprofits provided us with that information. And if I could just conclude by turning to our Chief Financial Officer to give us those exact numbers so you can hear what we were being told. Not exactly what we were being told, but we had received a summary from the Chief Financial Officer that in his opinion, all of these groups could pay that portion of the tax that we weren't granting them.
Mayor Little,
Yeah.
one question through you. I wonder if Mr. Creek, when he is going through the financial information here, if he might start off with the groups that have the highest net income and go down from there, just in terms of, just so we can organize it a little bit in people's minds.
I think he could do that. Yeah. I'm going to turn this now to our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Jeffrey Creek.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, through the chair. You did a very good synopsis of everything that was going on there. There's just two members of the public that I'd like to address first. They mentioned that the decision that council made was in order to save money and pinch pennies in some way. The decision council made saved the district absolutely nothing. They still gave away $100,000 worth of permissive tax exemptions. It's money we're not going to collect for anything. In fact, just give it away. So I keep hearing that over and over again, and that's my bad, right? I didn't put it clearly enough in the report that the district would still be out money at the end of the day by either option that the council chose. So going into the net incomes of these organizations that applied. So it received 3 years of financial statements and charity tax returns from each organization. And so a net income is all the revenue that an organization receives minus all of their expenses. So wages, supplies, that type of thing. So at the highest end, the BC Parks Foundation in 2024, their net income was $54,260,031, and their estimated tax bill would be $6,509. The next highest was the SPCA. So in 2024, their net income was $6,809,000. Estimated tax bill from other taxing authorities would be $13,416. Next up is the YMCA. So their 2024 net income was $2,997,766. Their estimated tax bill for 2025 would have been $42,032. The Humane Society 2024 net income was $963,392. Their estimated tax bill in 2025 was $4,170. Next up was the Victoria Motorcycle Club. Their 2024 net income was $30,655. Their estimated tax bill for 2025 was $8,770. And then we have the Hall Society. Their 2024 net income was $6,294. and their bill from the other taxing authorities would have been $2,676.
I'm sorry, you can't call point of order. This is a council meeting now. Public had their chance to speak at public participation. Continue. Sorry for the interruption. I just, if I can clarify, the tax information that we received in the grant application was not produced by the district. The the net income, the financial statements were given to the district of Metchosin from these organizations when they applied for the tax exemption. They're not something that we have come up with or searched. It was from their tax application or from their application for a permissive tax exemption. Continue. Can you start again with the BC Hall?
Yep. So the Hall Society 2024 net income was $6,294. Their estimated tax bill for 2025 was $2,676. And then the Anglican Church. So this one got a little bit confusing for me. So based on their returns, it showed a net income of $16,668. I had further discussions with some members of the church, and we identified that they underreported their expenses in 2024 based on some contract payouts, and that ended up lowering their net income down to $4,473. But their 2025 bill from other taxing authorities would have been $14,943. And so when I was addressing the fiscal need, I put in a box there saying there's 4 groups: the Anglican Church, Hall Society, Motorcycle Club, Humane Society. I looked at that and said, okay, what bar do we set for how much money somebody should be making for? I would say you don't have a fiscal need, right? And it was, if your net income is going to be over $1 million, you don't really have a fiscal need for the support from the taxpayers of Metchosin. And so I said, if you have that, there's no need. And so in addition to that, I looked at the 2024 net assets of the organizations, which again would be their total assets: cash, investments, receivables, land, minus any of their liabilities. So accounts payable, taxes payable, deferred revenue, that type of thing. And so the BC Parks Foundation, they had $85,198,000. The SPCA had $92,587,000. The YMCA had $11,974,000. The Motorcycle Club had $3,540,000. Humane Society had $880,000. The Hall Society had $83,540, and the Anglican Church had $48,145. So it was very cold analysis, just kind of more of a quantitative basis rather than a qualitative. The only qualitative aspects that I did look at was how it related to strategic priorities from council. If you met those, take those off. I think it was probably, again, kind of split on the 5-2, 4-3. Don't remember exactly. Some of these organizations don't have access for public to their lands. Some of them also just didn't meet a strategic priority that council has set. So that's kind of where I came from. And so I think the last council meeting, somebody addressed, like, how did you come up with this? Totally just based on the information that's been provided in those applications. So apologize for not including all of the detail. It just would have turned into a 300-page section of the agenda. And me being a really cheap person, it's like I just didn't want to have to print out 1,500 pages for these people to read over. So my apologies. I'll do better next year.
Okay, thank you. I want to make it clear that I've reached out to all of these groups. 6 of them have indicated that they would like to meet with me. I've met with 2. We'll be meeting with the rest this week. The main message is my apology for not communicating with them after the decision. And perhaps we should have given them a heads up that we are talking about that. And we were talking about it in June of this year. And I've also suggested that they may want to come to the Grant and Aid to ask for that portion for the other taxing authority if they're in dire strait like the Anglican churches. And I'm sure council will see fit to take that under consideration. Okay, that was a long rise and report, but I think it was necessary to provide some clarity on the situation. Council, let's turn to, we don't have any business arising. Reports for action, we don't have any, but reports for information. On page 23, we have the District of Metchosin Building Inspection Department report.
I'll move receipt.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Mayor Little,
next,
sorry. One thing I just want to flag with the building inspection report is how significantly higher, how much higher 2025 is compared to 2024. So total revenue to date is 205,000, and at the full year last year was 44,000. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, next we have on item number 9B on page 25, the District Metchosin Public Communications Statistics Report. So these are all the complaints or comments. Kudos to the District of Metchosin, subdivided into highways by law enforcement in general. Does anybody have any comments regarding this? Not, I'll take a motion to receive.
So
moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And correspondence for action. First off, we have yet again, as we've seen in other years, the backpack project. We have supported this in the past. They're asking for supporting the organizations once again in this fall and winter. They ask all of the members of the 13 municipalities within the CRD to consider having a donation box in the lobby of the Municipal Hall to collect donations from members of the community for the backpack project. We've done this before. I think it's a marvelous organization. I think we should support it. So what do others think? Councillor Gray.
I'll make a motion that the district provides space in the front lobby of the Municipal Hall for the donation box for the backpack project.
Yeah, this is moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Anybody want to make any comments? Councillor Donaldson?
Yeah, I just want to say that as councils before us, and including our own, and across the region, this is definitely a worthy cause. Niki Ottosen is a Colwood resident who has spearheaded this. Also has a box outside her property for people to drop things off. But each year we do see significant donations from our community for this at a time when people are struggling all over.
Okay, so anybody else wish to speak? If not, I'll call the question, and that this is did you read the motion out as it was listed here? That council authorized the Backpack Project Christmas campaign to take place at the Municipal Hall offices November 1st through to December 19th, 2025. Was that your motion?
Pretty close.
Okay, so if that's your intention, that's fine with the seconder. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, we have the communication from the Health Workers Against Genocide, correspondence from Naseem Janmohamed. I've never had to say her last name, I just call her Naseem. From the Victoria Workers Against Genocide, and from Diana Smith, Small Step Collective, Metchosin. It's a call on the federal government for a full two-way arms embargo on Israel. So council, we have this.
Yeah. I wasn't going to recuse from the discussion as I am a founding member of the Health Workers Against Genocide Victoria. and it may be perceived as having a conflict of interest. And while I'm at it, I will stay out of the room for the discussion on the subdivision for the non-farm use application of rezoning at 4409 William Head Road, and I recuse there due to my pecuniary interest as a subdivision applicant. Property is next to the property that I own and the property where I live next door. So out I go.
Okay. We'll just wait for Councillor Gray to leave the room. Okay, thank you. So this letter is requesting us, they would like to bring attention to this matter. We've all seen it in the news. It is indeed horrifying. And they point out some of the statistics regarding the 60,000 Gazans that have died, and most buildings have been razed, and all of the Gazan infrastructure, schools, hospitals have been obliterated. We've certainly seen pictures of children dying of malnutrition on the television, and it's heartbreaking. What they are asking us to do is send a letter to the federal government. They note that Bay Royal and I think it's Burnaby that has already done such unanimous motions and so they're asking us to have correspondence with the federal government. So Councillor Shukin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Little. And I just want to pass on my thanks to the two authors, and I know both of them. I've actually attended some of the events, some people in the audience may have as well through the Small Step Collective. I very much recognize the seriousness of the issue that they raise, but the other thing I recognize too is the complexity of the issue, and this is one of the most beguiling, tragic geopolitical situations, not only just now in the last few years, but probably going on for almost a century. My own view is I don't think there's a role for this council to get involved in the way that they're asking. There are plenty of ways for individuals, if they so choose, to raise their voices in their own way to government. And I know the Small Step Collective is actively soliciting correspondence to our MP and to government as well. I just don't believe that in terms of this council and the job that we're put here to do, that this is a role for us to do the letter that they're requesting. So my view is respectfully receive the letter. And at the same time also ensure on an individual basis that we're aware and that we take steps on an individual level as we can. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this? Councillor Ack.
Well, I tend to agree with Councillor Shukin in that it's I don't know that this is an issue for a municipality to take on. I think it's a horrific situation, has been for hundreds of years, but especially horrible now. And I just don't think it is something that this municipality should be doing. I would really encourage individuals in the community to send letters to the federal government about this and to really voice their opinion on what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Donaldson, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, I understand the reservations my colleagues share. This is something that came up at UBCM ever so briefly when there was an outburst in the audience when Premier Eby was presenting, and it was I think top of mind for a lot of people, and we see it in the news every day. It is very conflicting, and it is I definitely would encourage people to get educated and put their thoughts forth, as well as what my two colleagues are saying here. As for us as a council, I'm unsure of if this is something we write a letter and do, or encourage our citizens to do the same, which I certainly would, just as we have with other topics. This one is closer at heart because we're talking about humans being at risk as compared to old growth forests, which are also important topics. We have so many different things and in different ways. So, yeah.
So you're saying that you're going to be voting in favor of the motion to write a letter to the federal government? Is that what you're?
Well, we don't have a motion here, do we?
So I think the ask is that we write to the federal government.
Yeah, we don't have a motion on the table though.
No, we don't. Okay. So are you speaking in favor of writing a letter to the federal government, or have you got reservations?
But no, I think that if this council believes that's what we should do, then I would support that for certain. I also would support that the citizens also become proactive in this.
Okay. No, go ahead. No, go ahead, Councillor Shukin. Yeah, I don't know enough about this. What I've seen is what I've read in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal and other organizations that I read their material. It is heartbreaking, and I'm continually reminded that we need to stay within our scope. I also noted that Prime Minister Mark Carney has recommended a two-state solution. I don't know how that's going to work. It doesn't seem very reasonable given the devastation that has occurred in Gaza. I guess what I come back to and why I'd be willing to at least have a conversation with our MP, and I will have that, is the horrors inflicted on the children who didn't ask to be born in Gaza, and they didn't ask to be born in Israel. And that is one of my real concerns. So perhaps you could leave it with me, and all of you write letters on behalf of your families, encourage other people to write letters, and I will have a conversation with Honorable Stephanie McLean about our concerns. I can even forward her this letter and say that all of council at the table are concerned about this, and we would like to hear from the federal government on what they're going to do, particularly about the arms embargo, which I'm not exactly sure what the current state of affairs is on that, but absolutely we know about the widespread famine, and I think that would be fine. Councillor Shukin.
Thanks, Mayor Little. And again, one of the benefits of building a relationship with the MP is you can discuss matters like this. And yes, so thank you. And with that, I would make a motion to receive the letter from Healthcare Workers Against Genocide.
Okay.
So moved.
This is moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have correspondence for information. We have correspondence from Christine Boyle, the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, small scale multi-unit housing. And this is for receipt for our information. She's reminding us that she introduced legislation into the House to improve the implementation of the small scale multi-unit housing. And she's noted that some municipalities have not embraced their suggestions, and it is legislation, so she would like other municipalities to quickly hop on board. She notes that if this is passed, the changes will remove barriers to create consistent conditions across the province for small-scale multi-use housing by ensuring that the municipalities allow 3 to 6 units in all zones. And so much of this doesn't apply to Metchosin. I think some of it doesn't apply to Metchosin because of our lack of infrastructure. But anyways, the letter is there and they want us to remember about our statutory obligations. So I'll take a motion to receive. Moved by Councillor, we're on, come in, both of you, come in. So we're on page 31. Motion to receive by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Shukin. Councillor Gray, this is on the letter that we received from Christine Boyle.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Motion to receive. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving quickly along to bylaws. We have a report to our Chief Administrative Officer from our planner, Ms. Tara Johnson, regarding a non-farm use application and rezoning at 4409 William Head Road. Please note that Councillor Gray has left the room. He earlier provided a conflict of interest notification. Ms. Johnson, if you can come to the microphone, thanks so much.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. I don't have a presentation for you tonight, but in summary, this application has been before the committee previously in 2023, and the applicant, the owner, wishes to rezone a portion of the property that's currently designated village to commercial 2. This property is in the ALR, so the applicant, at the direction of the Agricultural Land Commission, has applied for a non-farm use as well to move concurrently with the rezoning process. The applicant is not seeking a subdivision, they're just looking at doing a rezoning. In terms of the Agricultural Land Commission, they recently endorsed the village designation, including the portion that's on this property. The planner, myself, and reviewing the OCP policies can support this rezoning. It fits within the village, and considering the neighboring uses, subject to excluding some uses like automotive like uses, most of the commercial uses would be a good fit. And just noting that should the rezoning move with approval down the road and the ALC approves the commercial use as well, there is still a lot of application processes that would come forward to council. So this property is within a development permit area. There is also other bylaws in place, like the tree protection bylaw, that would need to be considered as well if the applicant was looking at removing any trees, as well as the building permit application process. The applicant is here tonight. If you have any questions as well. Thank you.
First of all, maybe council, do you have any questions for our planner? You'll remember that this came forward, I think 2 years ago. Came forward 2 years ago. We did have a site visit planned. Councillor Donaldson and I attended that site visit. Mr. Starr allowed us onto the property, complete free reign, took us to every corner of the property, explained all and answered all of our questions. Certainly seemed reasonable to me, but please ask our planner questions from this, again, very good report. Councillor Donaldson.
I only have one question, and the Agricultural Advisory Committee also did a site visit, and there are notes here to that effect. Did MEASC do a site visit? I don't recall if we had engaged them, and the reason I'm thinking that was the comment from the public earlier about protected trees. I'm not sure that this was it the northeast corner here is subject to change. It's not about taking down trees. I think it's already established that that corner is the building, in the surrounding area is the commercial part. So has MEASC weighed in on this at a site visit? Do we know?
Through the chair, from what I understand, MEASC wasn't identified as a I don't want to say stakeholder, I'm obviously in the housing realm of my brain, but they did not do a site visit. It was just the Agriculture Advisory Committee.
Although during our site visit, Mr. Starr pointed out a particular area of, I think, Gary Oak and others that he was well aware of and well aware of protecting. But we can ask Mr. Starr that when we speak to him next. Are there any other questions for our planner, Council Donaldson? Now that you've got the floor, any other for our planner?
No, I have no other questions, and it was very clear from both Mr. Starr and his wife. They were very conscientious about where things are placed on their property, and they have maintained it as such, being upstanding land stewards was my observation.
Okay. Councillor Shukin or Councillor Epp? Councillor Shukin.
Sure, thank you very much, Mayor Little, through you. Ms. Johnson, so it took me a little bit to actually realize that this is not a subdivision, and what's being considered is introducing a split zone to the property, and that's correct. Yeah. I note too that as you go up from William Head up for the first few homes on Metchosin Road, there are quite a number of split zoned properties, ag and C1, commercial 1, commercial 2. So this seems to fit in a bit of a pattern in a way there.
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct. And some of it is also just meeting there's currently OCP split designations, and so zonings are matching those designations.
Right, okay. Sorry. Sorry. With the C2 designation, one dwelling is permitted, and then there's one accessory building as well. But Mr. Starr is proposing another dwelling, as I'm recalling from the application, on the ag portion. And then presumably, I'm trying to think about how the business structure would be called. Is that a dwelling, or would that be considered the accessory building?
Through the chair, since the property is all one lot, yeah, the principal dwelling would be on the agricultural portion, and any sort of other dwelling combined with a commercial building would be that other second accessory dwelling.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. And
so I'll just jump in there just to clarify, the application is for rezoning of that northeast or the northwest portion, 0.4 hectares or so.
Yeah, through the chair at 0.401 hectares.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, one final question, and actually this might be to Mr. Creek. How is split zoned property taxed? So is it simply an amalgamation of the land value that would be in the one zone and then the land value that would be in the other zone, or how is the taxable value or assessed value determined? And I guess the simple answer is BC assessment, but
through the chair. Yeah, so depending on what each zone is going to be, you can have one parcel but broken up into several classes. So in Metchosin, there's a number of properties that are 1 residential and 9 that is farm. So it's like 1 farm. There's also 1 and 6, which is like residential and business. So you can have business and light industrial, or business, major, any type of thing like that.
Okay. Yeah. And Councillor Epp, did you have any questions for Ms. Johnson at this time?
No, I'll save my comments for later.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Very clear report. Perhaps we could ask an invitation to Mr. Starr. Could you come to the microphone, Mr. Starr, and perhaps we could ask you some questions. Yeah, sorry to make you sit so long. Did you want to make any comments?
Not really. Not really. Just unless you have questions of me. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not subdividing it. I'm gonna have to still live in the house. It's still residence. I'm gonna use the house later. I've gotta advertise a lease. Somebody's gotta propose something. Then I have to come to the hall and say, okay, what, is that appropriate? If somebody wants to have a veterinary clinic in there, say, okay, then they're gonna have to do renovations to make sure it's up to commercial code. And I'm gonna have to, still live in it until I can build a house or something down the hill.
Sure.
But I also have legal road access off Perry Road and a water main there too. It's a agricultural water, but
right.
I can just hook off it for a house. So.
And my recollection from our conversations is one of the primary reasons why you would like to move location is because of the oil films fumes and the traffic at the. Could you just explain a little bit for us, since this has been 2 years?
When I moved here, it was bucolic Metchosin. There's a beautiful stand of trees across the road, and I worked as an engineer, as a student in the 80s at the D&D, and said, guys said, oh yeah, Metchosin's great. You can get 5 acres there. Went to Alberta, worked 10 years for Schlumberger as an engineer, and I bought that property, and I just wanted to be a farmer. And the restaurant happened, and I already started renovating my house because it was a tea house in 1914, right? And I was gonna just renovate it, and I was certified organic. I grew potatoes, and now I grow garlic. And garlic's great, and that's what I want to do. I taught at Camosun engineering, but then I teach high school for the last 25 years, and I just want to farm and retire here, and that's what I wanted to do in my life. But the restaurant steadily got bigger, got more parking, more expansion, basement grew. I mean, it's in the letter there. I explained it all. And I just want peaceful enjoyment of my property, and I haven't had that. My wife and I are pretty upset living there just from the noise, the deliveries at 7 in the morning. If I don't complain about it, they'll start coming before 7 again. So, it's nobody else in Metchosin has a restaurant across the road from them, right? So it really has become the commercial area. So it's not a place to live there.
Right. And as I understand, you can't open your windows during the summer.
No, upstairs, no. Well, maybe if there's nothing happening, it's like the restaurant's closed. Yeah, they're pumping the oil out of there. Yeah, there's trucks idling across the road from me constantly. There's constantly delivery trucks idling. So it's just not a happy place. Not my bucolic Metchosin, But down the hill's still pretty good. So, if I could live down there, and I think it's just there's a bluff too, so the noise and everything kind of just doesn't come down there.
Okay. Yeah. Who has questions for Mr. Starr? Councillor Shukin.
Through you, Mayor Little. Mr. Starr, with the commercial side being connected to the agricultural side,
right,
have you given any thought to a business that could incorporate the ag portion?
But I had to, I talked to lots of guys, like even the smoke and bones guys, because you could use the guys, the pig guy's pigs, and he could do the barbecue. Some slow food thing would be really good, because farm to table. But I can't even do any of that until I do this and then advertise and get somebody in there, right? But maybe the I don't want to take business away from the district, but maybe the nurse practitioner could set up an office there. It's the parking's there and everything, and
yeah, you did mention that
ride
2
your
years
horse
ago.
there. Go to.
Yeah, you mentioned it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Of the opportunity for a medical office.
Yeah.
There. Okay.
I'd be pretty quiet too.
Yeah. Anybody else has any questions? Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I don't have specific questions for Mr. Starr. He was very thorough when we did do the visit of the property, and there were lots of great ideas, and we'll see some of those here on page 54 of what the Ag Committee had also said that they would like to support, especially with our agricultural plan. And the other, I believe it's 4 other properties north of the community hall that all have agricultural type of businesses, with the exception of one, which is marine. And the properties and they're just smaller portions, similar to the split zone of what's being proposed here. The remainder of those are agriculture. This particular property has a number of fruit trees on it as well, on the agricultural portion of it, and the garlic. But up around the house, again, there are ideas in our OCP, as well as recommendations from the Ag Committee for the types of retail, whether it's local food or food hub, similarly to what we saw in the agricultural tour of the UBCM recently. Garden centers, livestock feed, all sorts of great opportunities that are listed, and it's very specific in the planner's report here, not having things like a gas station and those types of things. That corner has, as we've heard constantly from our residents, become busier and busier, and with busyness there's more traffic, there's more people, there's more chatter. The restaurant itself at the cafe, it once upon a time was also in the agricultural ALR area, but citing that it was a village core, and we do have support here from the ALC specific for certain areas here that abut up against the ALR. This falls into that. So in looking forward, I would only like to stress that it's important for us to, or Mr. Starr, should the time come, to consider the variety of ag-related type of businesses that we could have there that would be complementary of the other businesses also that are here. So I just want to commend the family for the work that they have done. It's been a long haul. I do remember this came up many years ago, and here we are now with this particular family having endured drastic changes, but still wanted to stay on the property and be good stewards of the land. And down the hill, it was much quieter the day we were there too, and it was middle of the week. So,
maybe I could just clear up the 0.3 and 0.401 acres, because here's the application from 2006, and I did submit this plan from it was a surveyor again, Hughes and Taylor. Well, the guys are done there, but that was the original plan I submitted to the district, and even on your posting it says 0.401. It's just somehow the ALR looked at the GIS and kind of estimated off that and probably got the 0.3, but that wasn't legal survey. So
yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Okay.
Councillor Epp.
Thanks. I think if this hadn't been for a bureaucratic glitch at the ALC, we probably would have had this settled quite a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it certainly fits in our strategic plan, and with the rest of the village core down there. I would really, regardless of, appreciate what the Ag Committee has said, but I would have a feed and farm supply store 10 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
I would, and there's Buckerfields as well.
Yes.
I would love to see something there that would, really benefit the
Something
whole
that fits in,
community.
yeah.
It would be great. So I'll be supporting this.
Did you want to go with the number 1 of the recommendation? That's on page 33.
Sorry, I wonder if we might, there's a lot, there is a lot here in the recommendation, which I'm happy to move on as well. I wonder if we could get advice from Ms. Hanson.
We're just going, I've got advice, so we're going to go with number 1.
Okay.
And then we're going to do, if that passes, then we'll do the first reading, take a vote. We'll do a second reading, take a vote. Would that be suitable with the Deputy Corporate Officer?
Sorry, just in looking at this, you can move and second all 3 options together. It's just,
all at once?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 1, 2, and 3.
Okay,
Just
do you need
mover
all
and
three
second.
of them read out?
Read all three out.
Okay. I recommend that council receive the agricultural land reserve non-farm use application to allow commercial use on the 0.401 hectare portion of 4409 William Head Road and give first and second reading to Metchosin Land Use Amendment Bylaw 711 to rezone the 0.1401 hectare northwest portion of 4409 William Head Road from agricultural zone to commercial zone, subject to a site-specific provision prohibiting the uses of appliance repair shop and automotive service station, and direct staff to schedule a public hearing for Metchosin Land Use Amendment Bylaw number 711 in accordance with section 466 of the Local Government Act.
Okay, so moved, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Councillor Epp, did you want to make a comment regarding that?
No.
No? Councillor Donaldson?
No comment.
Okay. Councillor Shukin? Yeah, and so I will vote in favor of this. It certainly fits with our village, as noted by our planner. And actually, if you look at the Provincial Agricultural Land Commission of 1995, where Mr. Starr was highlighting concerns with the application across the road at the corner, it really does fit with the comments made by the Agricultural Land Commission, although they appreciated his concerns. So it fits with their 1995 ruling as well, so we're being consistent. Any other comments? And I do want to thank Mr. Starr for his patience. He deserves a golden star for his patience on this. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. And then after the public hearing is closed, there'll be next steps regarding that. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Starr. Okay. Okay, next we have item number 3, other business. This is a motion for which notice has been given. This is referendum for the Fire Hall project. At the October 6th, 2025 regular council meeting, Councillor Gray made the following motion, notice a motion that council directs staff to hold a referendum on the Fire Hall project. Did you want to motivate?
Thank you. Yes, I move that council put the Fire Hall project to a community referendum so that it serves as a binding precondition to the project's
Point of order,
approval.
Mayor Little. Point of order. This is not what Councillor Gray has read, is what the notice of motion has been. Sorry, was stated at the meeting, I forget when it was, and is in our package right now. So
yeah, so that I will order that rule that is correct. Your notice of motion, Councillor Gray on October 6th. And the reason, as we found out earlier tonight, that there is a reason to provide notice. And the motion was that council directs staff to hold a referendum on the Fire Hall project.
I'd like us to consult with the deputy corporate officer.
I'm sorry?
I'd like us to consult with the deputy corporate officer. I spoke to her about this. The way that the notice of motion works is that you give the general idea of your notice of motion at the time. You provide that, and then if you keep with that, then you actually write up your motion for the meeting that it's going to be at. And I don't think this varies from the motion I made earlier in terms of the intent.
I'm just going to turn to our deputy corporate officer to get some advice here. Go ahead, deputy corporate officer.
Through the chair, the resolution, or sorry, the motion that's on the agenda was the motion that was read into the public record. However, the intent of the motion has not changed, so it's not word for word, but the intent has not changed. So Robert's rules does state that if the motion if the intent of the motion hasn't changed, then the notice or the motion can be brought forward. Yeah.
Okay, that's the only issue I have with that. I understand that that is Robert's rules, but it doesn't give necessary notice to the rest of us regarding the binding precondition of it. The notice of motion was a referendum on the fire hall with I mean, what would that question be? And so I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm just saying it's problematic.
Thank you. So I'll just read the motion again. That council put the fire hall project to a community referendum so that it serves as a binding precondition to the project's final approval.
Okay, this is a motion on the table. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second for discussion.
That's seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Go ahead.
So I just have 2 points. On June 16th, 2025, council approved an estimated $21 million fire hall redevelopment plan that will nearly double the size of the current fire hall. It requires the district to assume an estimated $7 million debt if we're successful and receive $7 million from the UBCM Strategic Priorities Fund. A debt of $7 million, we've been advised, council has been advised, would typically be paid for by local government through new tax revenues from future growth through new residents, businesses, and development. But growth like that is something that not contemplated in our official community plan. My second point is that on the issue of community consultation, we committed as council to increase public engagement to bolster governance as part of the 2023-2026 District of Metchosin Strategic Plan.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Donaldson, did you want to speak? No? Okay, Councillor Shukin.
Thank you, Mayor Little. This is a vague and, to my mind, distracting resolution that does not have any to suggest that the community go to a referendum without a clear question or a sense of timing or an understanding of how the project will actually clarify itself over the next 12 months or a year and a half or whatever. I think it's ridiculous, and it's actually serving more as a distraction. I recognize that the process that we've gone through, it has not been optimal, that there are lots of flaws to it. But I have to remind people that one of the reasons why we went and pushed ahead with an option is to qualify for a grant that could bring as much as $7 million. And if we had delayed in that, who knows when the next opportunity might come. It might, from what we hear, the grant program is oversubscribed and there's uncertainty as to when the next intake would occur. We rushed to get there. And I have confidence that if we worked hard, we will be able to refine the project, refine the size and the cost. And if we need to borrow money, there is likely going to be a referendum ahead. Until that time goes, until that point where we can actually point to something specific and take a question on a specific project and an amount to the community, it's premature and again a distraction to start thinking about a referendum right at this moment. I'll be voting against this.
Thank you. Councillor Epp.
Yes, we asked the architect to give us one option that we could put forward in a grant application. And he did that, and it was option 1A, and that's what we voted on, was that option to send as a grant application. I certainly don't recall voting to spend $21 million or whatever the heck it was on a new fire hall. We just voted that that option would be the one going for the grant application. Whether or not we get the money, whether or not we end up deciding on that option is completely up in the air and probably won't even be happening until the next council is in place. I think this is very premature. I don't think is necessary. I'm not going to vote for something that we have absolutely no idea which option for a fire hall that we're going to be deciding to build, or that the next council is going to be deciding to build, whether it's on the same site, whether it's the one where the option A places it, or whether we're renovating the bays or not. Like, there's just way too many questions that have not been decided or even thoroughly discussed. And so I certainly won't be supporting this, because I just think it's extremely premature and certainly not necessary in any way. I think when this comes up, it'll be certainly for the next council, and if that council decides on a referendum or it deems it necessary, then I think that'll happen. But I don't think we need to be putting any constraints on what happens down the road right now.
Thank you. I'll be voting against the motion as well. That's not the motion that we passed. The $21 million, that is not the motion that was passed. So you're incorrect, Councillor Gray. What we voted for was to endorse option 1A, as Councillor Epps was for the grant application. And I have noted numerous times at this council table and in correspondence to the local newspaper that once we find out what our financial picture is, then we will pivot and to a different option, or that option. We will, once we find out whether we are a recipient of that $7 million grant, which not all of council endorsed, but it was the will of the council to move forward on that grant application, and I'm glad that we did. Regarding the motion, speaking to a referendum on the fire hall, this is out of process. I mean, you keep accusing us of going out of process, and this is exactly what you're doing here. What question are we asking? Do we need a new fire hall? Is that the referendum question? Can we repurpose the apparatus bay? Is that the question you're going to ask? Is it fair to not address the health and safety of our firefighters? Is that the question that you want to ask the people? A question would be, is it fair to ask employees to work in a substandard building that doesn't meet the BC building code nor the post-disaster standard? Is that the question you want on the referendum? What kind of fire hall do you want? A mass timber? Do you want steel and timber? I'm unclear what the question would be. So without a lot more talk along the process, I would be able to vote on this. Plus, a referendum costs a lot of money for the community to hold. And we would definitely have to have a deep understanding of what, not just a political question, but what do we really want input from our residents? That would be what is important here. And then back to process. This is going way ahead of where we are in the process, and I will be voting against this motion. Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you very much for all of your comments, actually, because every single one of them is something that has come up also out into our community. And similarly to other comments and discussions we've had this evening, there is a lot of uncertainty financially. We've had reports coming from the CFO about where we could get monies from. Nothing is absolute, but we could strip down our reserves. No one's saying we're going to, but these are different things that we have. We have the 2.4 plus the interest of the Community Buildings Fund that could be specific just to this one project, even though there are other needs in the community. We've not discussed that source of funding either. Not one person in the community or at this table has disagreed that we do need a new admin building. And with that, not one of you have ever said, including myself, that we want our volunteers or our staff working in an unsafe building. So we're unanimous on those sorts of things. And you're absolutely right. Process has been skewed numerous times in a lot of different things that we've done. Some things we're learning from, some things not. Without getting into the details of those in rehashing all that we already know. The Fire Hall Steering Committee, for the last few, well, since before, or since the grant discussions, has been waiting for recommendation from this council of what is the next step. So as we sit here, we still don't have that. The last meeting, we learned some things without background. There's going to be an open house. It's going to be on November 12th. None of that's been discussed at that committee. So yes, we have lots of missteps still, or lack of communication or direction perhaps. And at some point we may end up having a referendum if this is going to be, well, this is a significant topic in our community. This is a significant investment in and of itself, our community, as so many other things are, not to understate any of the others. So lots of different things that we need to uncover. We have not, even at the committee, the steering committee, discussed any of the drawings or the space analysis of those drawings. That got intercepted because we got talking about grants. So everything's kind of in flux. Process has been interrupted greatly, and the community is worried. I'm hearing constantly of concerns and questions I can't even answer because there isn't direction. So back to this motion, there are a lot of things that are amiss. Have we committed to 21 million? I don't know. We haven't made a motion on it, but it's out there. And if we're going to stick with that one, it'll be more than 21 million, certainly, because things just keep going up and bigger. And we've only just started talking a little bit of what this building might be made out of, but we haven't divested any of this information as a committee, even the steering committee, to be able to help council in any deliberations, and council hasn't given recommendations. So we're really in a flux here, process or no process. We got a lot of work to do. And I think that the unease at the table needs to be brought to the surface and have a good conversation about what this project is and where it's going.
Thank you. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, but I'll give it to you. The council approved the project before we had a cost estimate. So the approval was given and we didn't know the potential cost. We then followed it through with the cost, Class D cost estimate, which gave us, through our CFO, the $21 million figure. But we already voted against exploring alternatives. So I brought that forward saying, what about a phased-in approach? And the council turned that down. I think that when you say that we don't know what the question will be, tonight the question is, will the residents have the opportunity to have their say? And I think at the moment, I share Councillor Donaldson's concern. The community is in quite an uproar over recent decisions, and I think we need to settle things down and respectfully ask our community, give them the opportunity to weigh the merits of the selected project and make a decision when the time comes. This isn't about delaying the project. This is simply just something along the way. You talked about the health and safety, and when I put forward a motion to say, can we take care of the health and safety issues, council voted it down. So it's not that we don't want to see these things happen, but rather bring forward a project, whatever it is, and get the community's input. We have nothing to lose except democracy.
I want to reiterate that I take full responsibility for kickstarting the process so that we could apply for a $7 million grant. I understood that it was outside of the process, but I was willing to go there to potentially save $7 million in taxpayers' money. I've also received a lot of feedback from people in the community saying, we've known about this since 1987. Why aren't you building it tomorrow? Why aren't shovels in the ground tomorrow? We heard from Shiano First Nation Chief Chips say, get it done tomorrow, get it done yesterday. So I also have received a lot of comments from residents in the community that recognize we need to upgrade our new fire hall. And I went outside of that process and tried to kickstart that, the whole feasibility process, because I thought that if we were to receive the $7 million grant, that it would provide a lot of relief for the taxpayers of Metchosin. I've already taken responsibility for that, and I'm hoping we can get back onto the process. I know that the CAO has met with the chair of the Fire Hall Steering Committee, as well as the JDA architects, and he will have a report soon on that. As well as promised, we are having an open house on November 12th. And that is for the community to come out and see for themselves, ask questions regarding all the questions that we've been grappling with. What is a spine? Why do you need a decontamination area? Why do the boots and the gear need to be separated from the engines? Why do you need an administration building at all? Why can't you just have a portable? And all of these questions will be answered at this meeting if there isn't sufficient time or sufficient time for residents to give their concerns, their questions. We'll hold another open house. We'll have multiple opportunities for engagement along the way. And so we are in the process. The CAO will be giving a report in some time on what is that timeline. But this notice of motion on a question on the referendum for the fire hall, I can't support as it is here. Perhaps at a future time I could, but definitely not in the process stage that we're at, but in the format it's in right now.
Thank you.
Councillor Gray.
And I wasn't there, but I understand the CEO reported to the Fire Hall Steering Committee that the grant application results will be known next August. Is there a plan that we might be working between now and next August on alternatives or other options in the event we don't receive the grant?
I think we'll have to talk about that. It'll be talked about with the CAO and the Fire Hall Steering Committee. We were told by the granting agencies that if we are successful, any of the costs that are incurred from the time the grant was submitted to the time at the end of the grant, we will be able to recuperate. And so there is things that we can do that we need to do anyways, regardless of what build. We still need to complete some of the site assessment. We need to have a discussion with the fire chief, the Fire Hall Steering Committee regarding the actual needs of the committee, and do we want a third-party independent assessment of those needs? There's lots of questions and a lot we can do between now and August of next year. Councillor Shukin.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I just want to flag the motion that was passed on October 6th, which is to update the terms of reference for the Fire Hall Steering Committee and also clarify project management and a project governance model for the Fire Hall project. So with that hopefully happening over the next few months, we should structure ourselves to take those steps. Personally, what I think should begin to be happening is that a team of professionals get together and begin to move quickly and be able to refer material to the Fire Hall Steering Committee for further input. Again, that's one example of what could happen to speed us on, but the steps are underway to get us in a position that we can start moving and beginning to refine things.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder. And yeah, one of my biggest fears is that Metchosin Council will try and micromanage this project, and we're not professionals that are needed in this project. We're professionals on other professions. This is not our expertise, and certainly we want solid advice and decision making from the professionals, and that is one of my biggest fears. So, Councillor Donaldson.
Yes, thank you. Back to what we were talking about, the process and get it done. One would have assumed, even with the report that we got from the CFO, we have funds available. We could build the admin side and phase this in. But again, because we don't have, we intercepted where the Firehouse Steering Committee was going. We canceled their June 11th meeting because of the 2 cow meetings. But and in what Councillor Shukin is just saying right now, the terms of reference, I know all the terms of references were going to be brought forward. It's in the queue for the staff to be doing that. So I would hope that this is happening the same time as all of them and not be superseding that. What else am I going to say? I would appreciate if the steering committee could go back and continue what they were doing, because right now they're kind of in, like I say, in flux. We've got some upstanding skills sitting at that table. They were appointed because of their background, and it seems like we've just completely forgotten. And it's volunteer time. People put their time aside and names to put themselves onto committees like this, and to not be used. So not sure exactly where the terms of reference is going to change that, or maybe not. Project manager, I can see that once we understand what we're doing. But if the committee can't finish even the slight bit that they started in the spring of understanding space analysis, to at least give a short list to council to then have something like an open house. So then we can go to the public saying that these things, there's concept drawings or whatever. I don't think we're that close, but we haven't even done that work. And so we've kind of interrupted that process. Not because applying for the grant was a bad thing. It's just that we've stalled. Talking about stalled things, we've stalled. We've done nothing since the spring with the committee to be able to work forward. So we can have all sorts of notices of motions and terms of references changed, stuff like that. But there's a committee sitting there waiting to do something, and we've done nothing. It feels like they've been disregarded.
Well, since the CAO is not here to defend himself, and he certainly would have something to say to that nothing's been done, I think we'll leave that discussion to another discussion when his report comes forward. I want us to get back to the scope of this question regarding the referendum.
Okay, but I have sat at that meeting myself as a council liaison. I know what those gentlemen at that table have been discussing. I'm not talking about what staff has done or not done or any short-sightedness. I'm talking about what the committee themselves are ready to go on, unless there is a separate committee that I'm not aware of. But
okay,
I too
Councillor Donaldson, I'm going to try and bring you back to what is on the table. This is a vote on directing the staff to hold a referendum. Did you want to speak to that, or shall I call the vote? Nope. Okay. Councillor Gray?
You were saying that you've received lots of support for the option under consideration. I think it's likewise, we're hearing people who are anxious about the project and the finances. And I don't think we should be worried about going to the people.
I'm not worried about going to the people. I'm worried about going to the people with a frivolous motion. I think we will have public engagement, and if it is the wish of the council that we hold a referendum on a very specific, carefully worded referendum, and there is an art to developing questions for a referendum, then I will likely go with that, but not with something on the fly like this.
Sure. Well, a referendum is not a frivolous question. The question that would be in the referendum, of course, would be studied and prepared beforehand. This is a higher level request today, but I accept your argument. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to comment? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Councillor Gray, Councillor Donaldson in favor. All those opposed? Councillor Shukin, Councillor Epp, Mayor Little opposed. That motion's defeated. Okay, thank you. Good discussion. Let's move on to the next item, which is 13.B. This is a motion for which notice has been given. Public release of UBCM Fire Hall grant application. At the October 6th regular council meeting, Councillor Gray made the following notice of motion: that council direct staff to release the UBCM Fire Hall grant application to the public on the district website. Councillor Gray.
I move that council direct staff to release the UBCM Strategic Priorities Fund grant application to the public on the district website following the redaction of any personal information, proprietary or third-party confidential data.
This is a motion proposed by Councillor Gray. Do we have a seconder?
Second for discussion.
Seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Councillor Gray.
So we submitted a grant application for $7 million to the UBCM Strategic Priority Funds in early September. The application followed the recent, and I would say controversial council decision carried by a narrow 3-2 vote to proceed with a Vancouver Architects Preferred Fire Hall redevelopment plan. I'm also aware that Section 25 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act imposes a duty on public bodies to release information without delay for transparency and accountability when it is clearly in the public interest. And I would argue this is in the public interest.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you. My understanding of the charter as was read earlier this evening, that this may in fact not apply under FOIPA rules, but maybe I don't have that clarity or the knowledge of, so I'd be seeking more information possibly from the Deputy Corporate Officer on that.
Okay. I'm going to turn to our Deputy Corporate Officer and ask her to comment on, is this a Freedom of Information Privacy Protection Act type of document? If you could comment on that.
Through the chair. Typically, the grant applications prior to a decision being made are not made public. There are provisions in the Act, Section 17, I believe, Section 17D, that speak to disclosure that may be harmful to the public body if it's prematurely released. So I will leave it up to council on whether they would like to direct staff to place it on the website, but typically at this stage prior to a decision, it would not be public information. I'd have to look through the Act a little bit more. And Section 25 of the Act, through the chair, is related to information that could be public health concern to, so mainly it's related to public health or safety of the public.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shukin.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I think the most important thing in terms of the grant application package is that it support the grant itself, that it do the job of winning us the day in terms of the UBCM committee and the provincial officials that are going to be reviewing that. This may be speculation on my part, but I don't believe that a release of that information is going to be done for the purposes, and the information used for the purposes of helping us advance our application and advance the interest of getting that grant. I actually suspect it's going to be used quite the opposite, to harm our interests. And I've heard rumblings in the community that people, if they get information, are actively going to be campaigning against the fire hall. So there's, Ms. Hanson mentioned the, maybe it's not stated in this way, but a release of information may harm your position. Well, I think there's a very good chance of that in this case. This is not something I will be supporting. One of the mechanics, or one of the things I want to just pass on, is when we met with the UBCM officials, they were speculating on the potential of a grant decisions being released in August. But I don't really think they knew at that point. There's a chance maybe it could come before, could come later. So I just don't think that there's any, we're not sure. We're not sure when a grant application is going to come. But at the same time, back to my point, the most important thing that grant has to do right now is win us the money. And I really would be reluctant to have it generally circulating in the community.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Epp.
As we heard from two members of the public earlier tonight, that the UBCM does not release the grant applications to the public. Once a decision is made on the applications, I understand they probably can be, but I don't know that we would want to go against a UBCM policy on that. They obviously have reasons for that, and it is, you know, there is financial risk of it being made public. Other communities can look at it. They can, if we got the grant, they might see something in there they figure they could challenge. They could take information off of it. I just, you know, I really don't know why we would do that, why there's any real reason to do that. The grant is gone. It's been applied for, and we'll find out whether we get it or not.
Thank you. As stated, at the District of Metchosin and other municipalities, grants in their final form that have been sent out are not normally listed on the public website, nor given to the community for many reasons. Some of the information could be confidential. There were certainly letters of support with information that was definitely confidential. Those people didn't know that their information would be placed on a website. It definitely could harm the interests of the district and have a negative impact on the grant application. And we certainly don't want it to harm the interests of Metchosin. And sort of a practical question, why would we want to put our information on the website to our competitors who may be applying for other grants? That's not normally a thing. I've written many grants and received many grants from the National Institute of Health in the States and in Canada, and they never release that kind of information. They release synopsis, but they don't release whole grant applications. We also may want to apply for other grants and take snippets from those grants, that grant for others. Why would we want to publish that? And then actually, I think it really needs to be said. In fact, Councillor Gray, you've already released this in an unauthorized release to some of your friends, and that's how it's out there in the community. So I think this notice of motion is trying to cover up what you've already done, and we actually have received 2 threats to the staff that people that have received that grant are going to go to the ALC and to UBCM and lobby against this. So I can't imagine that their intentions and your intention for releasing the grant unauthorized is anything less than nefarious. So I won't be
Point of order, Mayor Little. I just want to caution you about language and intent and.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyways, my conclusion is that this is not a good idea. It's definitely not what we've done in the past, and I don't think we should do it in the future. And we received information from our deputy corporate officer that typically we, according to section 17B, we wouldn't normally disclose this information. I think we need to have that conversation with UBCM, and it's likely the information that residents received this morning will be consistent with what we received. Thank you. Councillor Gray.
Mayor Little, I think we should seek the advice of the CAO on the comments you've made this evening, and we can have a discussion about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's well aware of what occurred, and I'm sure would be able to help you understand the situation.
Yeah, I think he will be.
And I just want to mention that I think it was inappropriate for you to raise this tonight at this table without the CEO here to provide advice.
I think this was
I'll offer
completely
you,
appropriate since this was a notice of
It wouldn't be a good
motion.
idea to interrupt.
This was a notice of
I just
motion,
wanna
Councillor
finish to
Gray.
say
You're
that
asking it to be released. You've already done that. I think it's perfectly clear and perfectly warranted.
Those are decisions you can make. I think Councillor Shukin's offered his thoughts to you. I'd be careful taking that any further.
Thank you. Well, the cat's out of the bag. I mean, the other people that received the grant from you know that they've received it, and obviously other members of the community have heard that the grant is available in the community, and it shouldn't have been. That was an unauthorized release.
I'm just going to say one more time, I think there's a certain decorum around the table that must be kept, and the issues we're discussing are confidential, and the CEO is involved in that question, and I think he should be here to defend himself.
They're not, this wasn't discussed at an in-camera meeting. These aren't confidential. You released it unauthorized.
I'm not sure that that's an accurate portrayal of what occurred.
Did someone authorize you to release this?
I'm not going to carry on the conversation without seeking the advice of the CEO in terms of confidentiality and other issues.
Okay. Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you, Mayor Little. Back to my question for input from the Deputy Corporate Officer. I just want to say I appreciate this information, and in the history I know of this, not this council, but at this table, business of grants, they have not been shared with the exception of one last year. Wasn't a council grant, but it was a grant of a group, which I would suggest going forward that no grants be shared. If we're going to do one, we should do all, not share the details of those grants. So I do appreciate what Ms. Hanson has provided us tonight. That gives me more knowledge of how I can vote on these sorts of things. And again, to what you had said, we have all different sizes of grants. This very large $7 million one, the just under 1 million for the gym, and many smaller ones that we've done for the fire hall, and smaller again for some other applications. But we really do need to follow a policy that no grants, if we're going to follow this, that it be very consistent. So I just want to say that I'm appreciative of what staff has brought forward tonight, because that does help myself in making a decision. Thank you.
I don't remember an occasion where we have released that a full grant.
Yes, actually it was the Metchosin Grown Society grant that got printed in the agenda and was debated at the table about a year ago.
Okay, we can ask for clarification regarding that. Thank you. Councillor Gray.
The public can look at the grant application online in terms of the questions that are asked. And I don't know that there's anything confidential in the document. If you look at the questions that are being asked of the district and the responses that would have been given. The motion includes a redaction of personal information, proprietary or third-party confidential data.
Okay. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Councillor Gray in favor. All those opposed? Councillor Schuken, Councillor Epp, Mayor Little, Councillor Donaldson opposed. Thank you. Okay, with that, we have it's 9:31. We don't have any time for questions. Okay, we have time for questions. It is 9:31, but okay, go ahead. Do we have any questions from the community?
Oh. Okay. My question is entirely different than what I was going to talk about. I've been watching what went around the table for the last few minutes. The firewall thing is complicated, and I'm not in a position to try and give you guys any advice. I just want to tell you, we voted for you 5 to be leaders and get this job done. Please do that. That's all I can say. I mean, that's why we voted for you. We trusted that you are going to run this organization for us. You're going to refer to the people that you need to support it. But you're the guys that are going to make it happen. So please do it.
Hello, everybody. Don Plank, 4347 Metchosin Road. Let's bring this down a little bit. One of the things that really irks me is when I find that I am very ignorant of something. And to the CFO, I'm going to make a request. If you could please, if the society has given to this district information, I was not aware of it, and that means I'm ignorant of some things. And I'm going to ask you to, if you wouldn't mind, to give me within the next week, we're having a meeting a week from tomorrow, any and all documents that were given to you about this tax issue from the society, so that I can address that. And if the society is wrong, then they damn well better admit it. And I'm part of that society, and I acknowledge that we've got to do the right thing also. So thank you, people.
Councillor Epp?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it seems like there's a real confusion, at least for you, about, like, I know when you sent your email, I actually didn't really understand it until where you were coming from until tonight. And now I realize that, you think that, the property's owned by the district, and that's not it. Okay. No, that's okay. But anyway, there's just a confusion about why you should, to me, be paying taxes at all, because it's in trust for the citizens of Metchosin, right? And but then on the document, it's owned by the 3 trustees. It says fee simple, and it gives the names of the trustees in trust. So I think that seems to be where it is a very confusing issue about, because if it indeed would, if legally it would be deemed that the trust means that citizen Metchosin is on it, well, maybe then you shouldn't be getting tax notices. But then if it means something different, and obviously in the past, the society has thought that, yes, they, where the tax, that was the right thing because they got the, the full tax exemption, right? So it just seems like perhaps you could even get together with Mr. Creek and maybe, and just try to sort that out. So for everybody's clarity on that.
As usual, all volunteers are not experts. We just try and do the best we can. And if this society has been giving information on the tax exemption thing to the district, then the district believes they're the taxpayers. When everything I've read, including that old 1888 document, doesn't mention society at all. It mentions the residents. And it's old language because in 1888, we didn't have all this stuff we have. We had jargon like you wouldn't believe, the people of the first part, people of the second part. But the main thing is that if we're at cross purposes because we're ignorant of what's really going on, then we've got to change that. And thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Plank, I would also encourage members of the Metchosin Hall Committee to meet with me. It's just an olive branch. I wanted to explain what had happened. I wanted to go over some of the figures that we had, like I've done with the motorcycle club, like I've done with the church. They've explained how the church has explained how maybe they underreported something, or they made a mistake. And I offered my apology for the way this had been communicated. And I've asked them to come to the Grant and Aid. So I still extend the invitation to either you or other members of the Hall Society to meet with me, and Mr. Creek and Councillor Shukin has been meeting with us as well. But you don't have to. I didn't say you have to meet with me. It's just an olive branch. It's just an invitation.
Okay. First of all, we're having this meeting, the society. It's not a committee or anything else. It's the society. We'll be having a meeting a week from tomorrow. And after that meeting, hopefully everything will be addressed and clarified for all parties at the society so that they can make a decision on that. I'm happy to meet with any individual in this room alone without any implication that it's the society meeting with the district. And when the CFO gets involved and another councillor gets involved, then the appearance of evil shows up. I'm not saying there's evil in this.
I see your concerns. Okay, so certainly you and I can meet.
Wait, I'm just not quite finished. I want to clarify, there's no evil in this district. It's just an old saying my Mormon friends used to say, it's not just evil, it's the appearance of evil. Well, it's not just the big thing, it's the appearance of it being something else. And so that's what I personally am trying to avoid. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I hear you. You're more than welcome to meet with me alone, or with Jeffrey Creek alone, or with Councillor Shukin alone. That's absolutely fine.
Okay. I thought you could hear me quite clearly.
Just introduce yourself.
Nevertheless, I have two thoughts to do with the fire hall thing and the actual committee that does recommendations. I've had some of them build our house, and I would say that they could build anything and look at the fire hall and give you a really good report. Not an architect, an actual builder who has built for some of people we won't even talk about that live in Metchosin. And secondly, I would like to know, is this fire hall that we were planning to build, is that where the fire hall is now? Or is this the Lombard property you people are acquiring, for the tax write-off for Lombard people? So why are we acquiring the Lombard property at the cement factory? I asked Mr. Shukin 6 months ago and he went, so is this a secret of some sort? Is that where the fire hall is going? Is that the point of acquiring Lombard property? Is anyone ever going to give me an answer?
I'll give you an answer. The plans, and there have been absolutely no discussion except for members of the public and former council members. There's no proposal to put the fire hall at the Lombard property. Okay. That makes absolutely no sense.
So a little tiny road. Why are we acquiring the Lombard property?
So the Lombard property, yet again, there's another conversation that we've been having in camera. No decisions have been made, and I cannot talk about the Lombard property acquisition or any other matters that are dealt with in camera.
I think the Lombard property should be talked in the public. It's highly contaminated. It's always been contaminated. And if you walked it, you would find massive things. If we took that on, we would be in caca for a long time paying for that property to bring it up to a standard.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. I just wanted to make sure the fire hall wasn't going there because people want to know, is that why you were thinking about acquiring it? To move the fire hall away from here? You've got to move it somewhere while you're building. But that was a question I want to know, and quite a few of the neighbors around there would like to know too.
I'm sure they would know the fire hall will not be placed at the Lombard property. Councillor Shukin?
Oh, Mayor Little, I was just going to mention even what I may have told Ms. Davis a while ago, is that whether we're in negotiations about any property, it's just something we just can't even confirm or deny. That's all covered under the community charter in terms of, just matters you can't disclose until the time is right. So whether we are or not, it's not for us to say at this point. So
it's still highly contaminated, and that is not something I'm just speaking about offhand. I've been on the property. I've worked with people that own it, Lakeshore and them. And if you took that on, you would never get out clearing that contamination.
Thank you.
So
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Klaus Cryer, Liberty Drive. Allow me to ask a follow-up question to some of the earlier discussions, and I'll tell you why I'm asking the question. This concerns the Firewall Steering Committee and in terms of reference. We heard earlier that the wheels aren't spinning, they're not turning at all. So is there a timeline for getting that all together and getting that back up and running again? And the reason I ask the question is that we have a window of opportunity right now between today and whenever the grant is announced. And I would hate to see, and I'm sure the chief would hate to see us wasting this time. There is a lot of work to be done. As we heard and as I've read, the project does have a few issues that need to be addressed, and we've now have a window of an opportunity to do that. When can we start?
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, our CAO has been away last week on a course, and he recently had a death in the family, so he's not with us tonight. I know that he is bringing forward information regarding the notice or the motions that were put forward regarding the timeline and the terms of reference. And I would just say as soon as possible. We do understand, and it was clarified when we spoke to the administrators of the grant. They encouraged us to continue along in the process, knowing that if we were to receive the grant, we would be reimbursed for those costs. And so I agree with you 100% that we shouldn't waste this next year. It would be a lost opportunity. And I think that's what we've also heard from other members when I've spoke one-on-one with some of the members on the Fire Hall Steering Committee. I take your point.
Okay, thank you.
I'd also like to talk about the Fire Hall Steering Committee meeting. The last meeting of October 8th, Councillor Donaldson mentioned something about no discussion, I believe she said, about the upcoming open house. Is that correct? No? Can you correct me then, please, so I can speak properly?
I don't recall saying that at that meeting.
No, tonight. Did you not say that? There wasn't discussion?
There was discussion about an open house, but there was information that had to be brought forward. There's no specific plans yet on that.
for the open house?
There's more to happen. When you read the minutes, it'll say there's more information, required steps and such.
Right, at the next meeting, I believe it's the 4th coming up before the open house on the 12th. And I believe what I have notes on here anyways, is that JDA is gonna come with information. It's gonna be held at the fire hall. We were told that it was gonna be hosted by the mayor. And I just wanted to clarify that because there has been discussion at the meeting. So I just wanted to say.
Perhaps was that a meeting that you missed? You weren't at
No,
that
I was
meeting?
at the meeting. It was the CIO was the one that informed us. It didn't come from the committee.
Okay, so
that's
we're
true.
talking about the same meeting, and the resident is saying that she did hear information at that meeting regarding the.
The resident wasn't at the meeting, I don't believe. At that one.
At the October 8th? I was. There was 5 of us there actually as residents. And
okay, so
there was 3 people missing from the table.
Okay, so we'll take everybody's word that they were at that meeting, and there was some information. Was there another question, Tamara, besides wanting to clarify that there was information given at the Fire Hall Steering Committee meeting regarding the fire hall and regarding the fire hall open house, and it was discussed?
No, I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thanks. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, we did discuss this at the finance meeting last week, and I think what we heard was that what Tamara's just described, Councillor Donaldson reported to council. What was missing was the purpose of the meeting. And I think Mayor Lilly responded that the Fire Hall Steering Committee would work on that and report back to us on the purpose of the meeting.
I think what the CIO wanted to know from the Fire Hall Steering Committee is what you'd like to see in an open house, since we have committed to holding public engagement. They're the people that are firefighters or in builders. What kind of questions can we anticipate? What would you like to see at an open house? It's a very simple question. And I suspect, I wasn't at the Fire Hall Steering Committee meeting, but I suspect that was the conversation. I don't know, what is your?
That was my take on it as well. And also it was asked by a member of the committee if who was gonna bring the information? Was it the steering committee bringing the information, or was it JDA bringing the information? And it was clarified that it was JDA who was bringing all the information to the open house.
Right. And also there would be, if the Fire Hall Steering Committee members are there may be questions from the community to a builder, to a firefighter.
It was encouraged, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
It was encouraged actually for the committee to be at that meeting.
Okay.
At the open house.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? No.
We weren't giving our names, but you've heard it earlier.
Yeah, Jennifer Burgess.
Yeah. Directed to our representative on the CRD Health Board.
There is no CRD Health Board, but I'm the vice chair of the CRD, and I'm your representative on the CRD board.
And the health.
And the governance committee.
The committee that votes on health issues that CRD allocates. That you're also a member of that committee, I believe.
Oh, the hospital and housing.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I didn't know what you were trying to get
I should
at.
have come with the correct title.
That's okay.
Yes, which is not perhaps totally a Metchosin question, but I want to thank you too for opening this up to questions. I'm very pleased tonight that you have given us the extra time. The big question I have is the great big empty hole that's in the middle of Royal Bay, and it has a big sign on it that says long-term care project 2027. And I'd like to know the status of it, because I know that that committee allocates millions to make sure that it will happen. Do you have a timeline for it happening? Because I've been watching, high schools are being dedicated for 2027 and the shovels are going in the ground, and there are no shovels in the ground. And I guess I'm speaking as one a senior and two a member of the Metchosin seniors, that my goodness, I hope the shovels are going in the ground into that big empty space pretty soon, or it won't be built by 2027. And it's intended to service all of this area.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll try and recollect at that important unveiling of that announcement. Mayor Doug Kobayashi, of course, was there. Our former MLA, Mitzi Dean, actually, it was her event. And so it was provincial funding for the long-term care facility. There was also going to be a coffee shop there. There was going to be a daycare. I think there was also going to be some there's psychiatrist's office there for mental health consultations as well within that long term. And then, of course, the long-term beds, not only for seniors, but for persons that are needing assistance long-term. I can't remember the specifics on the timeline. I know that it was supposed to be built by 2027, but I'll be seeing Mayor Kobayashi later this week, and I'll ask him, and I'll get an updated timeline from Dana Lejeunesse, who is our current MLA, regarding that.
Actually, the MLA for that Colwood area is not Dana. He has Metchosin, Juan de Fuca, Metchosin. He'll be the MLA, the adjacent MLA.
Yeah, so I would reach out to Dana Lejeunesse, and he would reach out to his colleague. I think that would be the way to go, or else I could go directly to Mayor Kobayashi, who would definitely know, but he could also reach out to his MLA, which would be Ravi Parmar, I suspect. No? Darlene Rochford? Okay. I know them both, and I will definitely reach out to both the mayor and the MLA. Okay. Is there any other questions for council this evening? Okay, if not, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Epps, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.